What if the world as we know it, modern capitalism, global superpowers, and international law, was forged not in peace, but in the fires of a single man's ambition? Before the British Empire ruled the waves, and before America became a titan, one man stood at the crossroads of history. This is not just a story of battles, it is the birth of the modern world. This is the era of Napoleon. To view the Napoleonic Wars simply as a long, large-scale European conflict would be a significant interpretive error. By the time these wars concluded, the global system had shifted entirely. A new order had emerged, one that would continue under the leadership of a single superpower, the British Empire. The era encompassing the Napoleonic Wars is a critical transition period for humanity. It saw the first major war of independence with the Haitian Revolution, the beginning of the abolition of slavery, and the Louisiana Purchase, which marked the young American Republic's first step in evolving from 13 former colonies into a continental power. It was the dawn of the Industrial Revolution and the moment Adam Smith's teachings on modern capitalism began to permeate daily life. Just as the relentless struggle between France and Britain from 1675 to 1815 created the British Empire as a lone superpower, the much later rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union between 1945 and 1990 would allow the US to emerge as the sole global leader. Interestingly, the principles behind the formation of NATO after 1945 and the principles Britain used to restrain France with its European allies between 1675 and 1815 rested on essentially the same foundation. Napoleon Bonaparte was not only one of history's greatest generals, but also a profound statesman. The Napoleonic Code, which he implemented in France, contributed immensely to the legal and bureaucratic foundations of continental Europe today. When Napoleon dismantled the French Republic born from the Revolution, it wasn't based on a simple imperial whim. The First French Empire merged the gains the Revolution provided for the people with the strengths of the Ancien regime, the centralized state structure created by the Sun King, Louis XIV. Napoleon's military success did not stem from a technological revolution. There was no radical difference in weaponry between his wars and the Anglo-French conflicts of the late 18th century. Instead, it was his tactical genius in managing great pitched battles that made him almost unique in human history. In truth, Napoleon never fundamentally changed military literature in terms of equipment or weaponry. Rather, he perfected the art of war as it existed. By combining his superior intellectual intelligence with his leadership skills, he achieved legendary victories. Napoleon possessed a staggering capacity for work. He could work 18 to 20 hours a day without a break. It is known that the emperor would sometimes work for 3 days straight before diving into a few hours of sleep before continuing. His memory and command of detail were beyond imagination. Consider this. In 1805, while the French army was marching toward Austria, a unit lost communication with its commander and Napoleon's headquarters. In an era where coordinating a massive army relied on mounted messengers, finding a lost division of 7,000 men was a nightmare. While his staff spent hours poring over maps and written orders, the emperor noticed the confusion. Calmly, Napoleon took the floor and provided details that would shame his staff. He summarized exactly where the unit was, which direction they had marched for the last 3 days, where they would arrive in the next 3, their current strength, and their exact number of cavalry and artillery. Considering Napoleon was managing 7 corps consisting of 200,000 men during the 1805 Austrian campaign, this example demonstrates his absolute mastery over detail. He planned military operations months in advance, including all logistical requirements. At the start of the 19th century, armies moved on foot, followed by massive columns of horse-drawn wagons carrying ammunition and food. This gave a massive advantage to the side defending its own territory. Even at the height of his empire, Napoleon was almost at a numerical disadvantage, yet he possessed the skill to win crushing victories in the very heart of rival nations. It was this immense tactical genius that would often overshadow his strategic weaknesses. However, those strategic flaws would eventually collapse the great empire that stretched from Spain to the Russian steppes. Let us dive into the extraordinary story of Napoleon. As the 18th century closed, the French Revolution had lost its momentum after 10 years of chaos and anarchy. While the spirit of patriotism and nationalism fueled French victories in Italy and on the Flanders fronts, the young general of the Italian and Egyptian campaigns first became first consul in 1799, then Emperor of the French in 1904. Napoleon's military leadership in Italy was a harbinger of his future success, but his ability to transform a republic into an empire highlighted his political ambition. He had learned well from history. He carefully studied the rise of Julius Caesar and his successor, Augustus. Just as the Roman Republic transitioned into an empire, Napoleon ensured the collapse of the weak and corrupt French Directory, replacing the consulate with the throne. Note that he did not crown himself King of France in the traditional sense. He took the title Emperor of the French, cleverly utilizing the legacy of the Revolution while asserting dominance over new European territories. This distinction was so powerful that decades later, in 1871, when the King of Prussia was crowned Emperor of a united Germany, he would long for the title Emperor of the Germans, mirroring Napoleon's populist imperial logic. Now, let's pause Napoleon's story to examine some critical events of this era that still echo today. The Haitian Revolution of 1791 was a turning point, the first time a colony won its independence through a slave revolt. It was the largest slave uprising since Spartacus shook the Roman Republic. Its success, combined with the Industrial Revolution, led the British Empire to ban the slave trade in 1807. Another pivotal event was the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Napoleon calculated that he could not hold this vast territory in North America due to the Haitian Rebellion and British naval supremacy. He needed money for the coming wars, and American settlers were already moving in. He solved the crisis by selling the region to the Americans for $15 million. The young United States doubled its size overnight, reaching the Rocky Mountains and setting the stage for its future expansion to the Pacific. Returning to the wars, the Peace of Amiens did not last. As Napoleon expanded his influence over Switzerland, Germany, and Italy, the British declared war in 1803, forming the Third Coalition with Austria, Russia, and Sweden. While the British Navy crushed the French fleet at Trafalgar in 1805, securing the seas, Napoleon was invincible on land. In October 1805, he defeated the Austrians at Ulm, and in December he achieved his most brilliant victory at Austerlitz against the combined Russo-Austrian forces. This was the Battle of the Three Emperors. Upon hearing of the defeat, British Prime Minister William Pitt famously said, "Roll up that map of Europe. It will not be wanted these 10 years." For the first time, the capital of a great power, Vienna, fell to an invader. After Austerlitz, Napoleon dismantled the ancient Holy Roman Empire and formed the Confederation of the Rhine. But the war continued. In 1806, the Fourth Coalition formed. Napoleon targeted Prussia, the finest military machine in Europe, and destroyed it at the battles of Jena and Auerstedt. Berlin fell within weeks. Next came the Russians. After a bloody stalemate at Eylau, Napoleon routed the Russian army at Friedland in 1807. The Tsar sued for peace. At this moment, Napoleon was at his zenith. From Portugal to Poland, he controlled the continent. But the British Navy remained. Napoleon's weapon against them was the Continental System, a total economic blockade. No British goods were allowed in Europe. His goal was twofold: collapse the British economy and create a single, integrated European market under French dominance. This was the blueprint for the European Union 135 years early. This system forced Britain to seek new markets, intensifying their colonial reach in China and the Ottoman Empire. It also led to the War of 1812 with the United States, as American trade with Britain was strangled. Napoleon's obsession with the blockade led to his first great strategic error, the invasion of Spain. When he placed his brother on the Spanish throne, the Spanish people rose in a brutal guerrilla war, a term coined during this conflict. The Peninsular War would bleed France for 7 years, tying down 300,000 soldiers. By 1812, Russia withdrew from the Continental System. Napoleon gambled everything. He invaded Russia with a grand armée of 600,000 men. But Napoleon was no longer the same man. His health was failing, and the campaign was a logistical disaster. The Russians used a scorched earth policy, retreating and burning everything. Though Napoleon took Moscow, it was a hollow shell. He was forced to retreat through the freezing winter. He lost 400,000 men and nearly all his horses. Europe saw its chance. The Sixth Coalition formed. Despite his exhaustion, Napoleon showed flashes of his old genius, winning battles at Lutzen and Dresden. But at the Battle of the Nations at Leipzig in 1813, the numbers were too great. Paris fell in 1814, and Napoleon was exiled to Elba. His final 100 days' return ended at Waterloo in 1815. Even if he had won that day, the coalition would have eventually overwhelmed him. He was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821 at the age of 51. His final words were France, the army, head of the army, Josephine. He never forgot his first wife, Josephine. Though they divorced because she could not provide an heir, their bond remained until her death. Ironically, it was through Josephine's lineage that Napoleon's name lived on. Her grandson, Charles Louis Napoleon, would later become Napoleon III, the last monarch of France. With Napoleon's final exile, a new world order was born, the Vienna system. Shaped by the Industrial Revolution and the economic theories of Adam Smith, this order would maintain a relative peace until the guns of August 1914. But that is a story for our next video. Napoleon left behind a world that could never return to its old ways. He was the bridge between the age of kings and the age of nations. Was he a tyrant who bathed Europe in blood, or the architect of the modern world? Tell us what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe as we continue to unravel the economic and financial history that shaped our lives.